While politicians discuss the fate of the Amazon, the fires continue to burn in Brazil, Bolivia and Peru. President Bolsonaro has rejected a $22 million aid package to tackle the fires, claiming that Brazil is not a colony of Europe and that the money should be used to reforest the old continent. Earlier today, President Bolsonaro met up with governors of 5 Amazon states to discuss their needs, but so far only 700 soldiers have been deployed to stop the fires. Satellite images show that there are new areas that are burning, several of them inside national parks. But the president claims that the fires are now under control. We travel to a rural heart of Brazil to see what life is like on the ground. The people living in these parts of Brazil are at the bottom of the Amazon social hierarchy. They are the rural workers, landless and largely jobless. The impact of climate change and its effects are far from this man's mind. For Valdemir, a poor farmer in the Brazilian Amazon, burning is an everyday part of life. It's how people survive here.
É errado, porque tem que pôr fogo, tem que queimar, tem que abrir, tem que deixar aberto. Como que vai ficar desse jeito? Né? Não pode ficar desse jeito. Tem que ser aberto, liberar o fogo, roçar um pouco, derrubar um pouco, queimar. Como que vai viver, então a gente vai viver?
Você acha que Bolsonaro vai permitir que a gente abra a floresta?
Com certeza absolutamente, não vai deixar aberto para nós trabalhar, liberar mesmo, né?
Landless peasants like Valdemir have occupied land here for decades. He survived on less than £150 a month. There are bigger players that he blames for the destruction.
É o fazendeiro que tem muita terra, né? Aí que ele queima, né? E a gente não pode queimar e ele pode queimar porque fazendeiro, né? E a gente pobre não pode, não tem como.
And this is the Amazon's farming frontier. Smoke can be seen coming from private farms in the distance. Novo Progresso, which translates as New Progress, is described by some as the Wild West of agriculture. There are no rules here, with little presence of the authorities, where people are able to operate outside the law. The town lies on a main road that cuts through the rainforest to join cattle farms with ports in the south. In a region with high levels of poverty, persuading people to preserve the rainforest is a hard sell.
Você que pensa que a imprensa internacional, todo mundo está falando que o Brasil está queimando o Amazonas?
Eu imagino o seguinte, como o governo agora mudou a política de preservação ambiental dele para um outro sistema, as ONGs que atuavam no país, que ganhavam muito dinheiro com isso, ficaram sem dinheiro e ficaram revoltados. Então estão fazendo esse tipo de reportagem aí para prejudicar. A política do governo hoje não é mais fazer o que ele fazia, que há multas e multas e multas, que isso nunca resolveu.
President Bolsonaro's agricultural policies are widely supported here. They prioritize economic development over environmental protection.
Você que pensa das novas políticas de Bolsonaro?
Ótimo, ele quer fazer isso, exatamente ordenar a coisa para não ser obrigado a estar multando ninguém. Não é necessário. Você hoje pode bater no teu filho?
Não.
Então por que o governo pode bater em quem trabalha? Só bater e não dar direito a ele. Você faria com o teu filho deixar ele sem roupa, sem comida e ainda tirasse o direito dele, que tinha direito de comer, de fazer alguma coisa? Não faria isso. E o governo estava fazendo isso, esse governo anterior estava fazendo isso. O IBAMA para cima, e multa em cima de pessoas, inviabilizando o CPF da pessoa. Com esse instituto de quê? Queria desocupar a Amazônia. Todo mundo sabe que ele quer desocupar a Amazônia.
The Amazon represents 60% of Brazil's land, but only 12% of its population live there. While other countries see the Amazon as the lungs of the world, for those living here, the rainforest is a lifeline out of poverty.
Well, joining me now from Brazil is Robert Muga, the co-founder of a think tank there that have been researching the issue of illegal deforestation and its links to crime in the Amazon region. Robert Muga, thanks for joining us. As far as your investigations into links to crime go, what have you actually found and what can be done to stop it?
Well, I mean, as your reporter mentioned, the Amazon is vast. It covers millions of square miles, and so very difficult to police and regulate. But the reality is, when it comes to deforestation and fires in the Amazon, the vast majority of it is illegal. Estimates range from 70 to 80% of all deforestation that's happening there is due to illegal land grabbing, as well as organized crime. And so the first and most important thing is to have good data, good evidence to understand what's going on in real time. And what you also need are good legislation, robust rules, as well as law enforcement and people to police the area. Unfortunately, with this current administration, a lot of the data that was essentially available has been questioned, and the head of the science agency responsible for producing it was fired, and a lot of the regulatory agencies that are responsible for protecting the Amazon are being defunded. So we're in a very difficult situation when it comes to policing crime.
Now, given that difficult situation, we've seen international condemnation, we've seen a G7 plan, and Bolsonaro has rejected that. What's he playing at?
Well, you know, I think this government came into power really ostensibly around pushing for a strong development agenda, as well as cracking down on crime, but also exploiting and expanding deforestation, mining, and agri-production in the Amazon. And so what we're seeing right now is a manifestation of what he campaigned on. And he's got a very strong rural base, not just in terms of voters in the Amazon, but the Congress has a front of ruralistas who are supported by the agro industry and the beef industries, who are very much adamant about expanding exploitation of the Amazon and getting past what they see as over-cumbersome rules and regulations around preservation. And so you have this tension on the one hand between, let's call it the domestic lobby, but you've also got soaring international demand for products from Brazil, especially in the wake of the China-US trade war, because there's soaring demand for soy and beef, and as a result what we're seeing is essentially the clearance and growing use and exploitation of resources across the Amazon. So it's a pretty tricky problem.
Well, given that, is the G7 actually doing enough to stop this? I mean, perhaps the offer of aid isn't enough.
Well, I think that the offer of aid comes in the midst of a growing acrimony between Bolsonaro's administration and a number of governments, especially in the European Union. You know, a couple of weeks ago, Germany and Norway, which funded a $1 billion Amazon fund designed ostensibly to help preservation efforts in the Amazon, including supporting indigenous groups and environmental organizations, was essentially postponed. And this sort of antagonism grew with the G7 summit, with Macron declaring at the last minute that the Amazon issue would be put at the top of the agenda. This plays well to the base and the administration of Bolsonaro, who are seen as being, in a way, sovereign and tough and nationalistic. And although Europe he grossly miscalculated the extent to which Europe was going to be opposed to and rejecting his moves on the Amazon, in a way it's shoring up some of his base. So, you know, the challenge right now is how do you apply pressure in a way that's going to generate, let's call it lasting results in the Amazon, rather than just sparring and jousting verbally? And I think the answers are manifold. I mean, one of them is that there's a major EU-Mercosur deal, Mercosur being the region in South America that includes all the states, around reducing tariffs on goods and services. This is an enormously important deal for Brazil, and it was negotiated over 20 years, but it has very strong articles within it to manage climate-related issues. And so Europe, especially France and Finland and Ireland, have said, we won't pass this deal, we won't ratify it, if Brazil doesn't make good on its Paris Climate Agreement commitments, including addressing issues of the Amazon. But the other way you can deal with this is by helping clean up the supply chains of the big beef and agro industries. I mean, right now, there are efforts around the world to try to improve the quality and traceability of the products that are coming out to ensure they're not being produced from illegal pasture lands or illegally cleared areas. And so I think ramping up that kind of pressure is key.